Hello again, this is Floodlight Artist with Floodlight Studio, and I've been working on this piece here. We had a part 1 and part 2, and I originally was going to color the background in this because the buyer originally saw another piece that had a black background, and we have decided, well, I have decided to match up this piece with, hold on one second, with this one. These two are going to be side by side, most likely on his walls. This one has lines going this way, and I decided to do something a little different, but that would kind of be cohesive, and I'm doing lines up and down on this one. So since the last time we did the last video, I've come in and drew those in with pencil, and I'm getting ready to start drawing those in with my ruler. So hopefully you got to see my last videos and you understand kind of what's going on, but these are just some commission pieces for Steampunk. And I do a little bit of Steampunk. I don't always, well, I'm going to have to change pens. I don't always do a whole lot of Steampunk, but occasionally I'll draw a piece here and there, and I've had quite a few people like this Steampunk drawings, so, and this is what the client wanted, was Steampunk, so. I'll be doing this the hard way here. Just trying to get everything lined up. I'm trying to be really careful not to bump my ruler off track here. I actually kind of did that on the last one. I camouflaged it, but we just don't want that to happen again. Especially not after I've gotten this far with this drawing. About 2 hours in, maybe, with the actual, let's see, going through this mechanical bee here, and I'm trying to go through his wings, and it's a little confusing as to whether I'm going through the right places or not. I don't want to cross over something I'm not supposed to cross over. That was the hardest part. Now I've just got to get these lines in. Did cover up my birds again, but right now they're not happy with me because I just covered them up. So they're still kind of a little bit chatty Cathy over there. So that just proves that maybe I have strong-willed birds like I have strong-willed children. I hope everyone has enjoyed my previous drawings on these. I haven't been able to do a whole lot of the videos until I started doing the commission pieces, just because there's been so much other stuff going on. We sold a flip house that we were working on. I've been trying to get my insurance information and all together to file my appeal for my neck surgery, and we've just been working on projects around the house, different things that have. Now that doesn't mean I haven't been drawing. I just haven't had like 30-minute to 1 hour slots that I could stop to video. And in the future, hopefully the slots won't be quite as long. The time frame on my videos won't be quite as long. Just because usually I'm a lot quicker with my work than I have been with this one. Or with these pictures, I'll put it that way. But in the future, I'll try to keep them to maybe like a minimum of 30 to 45 minutes maybe. And I will start doing some more time-lapse videos when I get my editing software again. Because I was using a temporary editing software just to try it out. And I don't have that software anymore, so I need to get a hold of some good editing software. My husband, golly. My son, we talked about this last time, I think in our video, about how people can be our critics. My son is all the time getting on to me about the editing. You gotta edit your videos, Mom. I totally understand that. But when you're starting from scratch and you're just learning the process of how to do all this stuff, I'm old school, so it's a little bit harder for me to catch up with the times. I think that looks pretty cool with the stripes. And we'll do shading on one side, just like we did the louvers on the other one. I just saw something I did here. I drew my line through his sleeve and forgot he had an arm there. So we're gonna make that like the seam in his sleeve, and continue those stripes from his shirt. I'll put a seam right here. I changed pins again because I noticed these lines were a little bit thinner than what I just put over here. I changed to a 005. Because this is a vest, not a jacket, so we definitely want to make sure he's got his little, I completely forgot about it last time, but he needs his little stripes in his shirt. Back to this, I'm switched over back to a 0-1, and I'm going to come back in here and darken up some areas where shadows would be. Try something here. I'm not quite loving how I worked at this eye here, so I'm going to try to create maybe a little bit of a squinting that would cause some wrinkles. Not sure how that's going to look. And all of this looks like it's going to get dark. It's almost like a shadow's been cast. Oh, I'm not loving the way that just turned out. And once I get the shadows in, it'll look better. Almost looks like he has a black eye now. Oh, I don't want to have to redo this whole thing. Just casting a little bit deeper shadow there. I'm going to connect this mustache just a little bit more to make it look a little bit more natural. just messed this up because I'm not loving what I'm seeing here. Sometimes you just have to keep working with something over and over till you get it like you want it. I'm going to come in here and darken up this, but thin this part out just a hair and darken up this nose a little bit. And then create a little bit darker shadow here. Bring his mustache up just a hair under the nose. I know you don't usually see a whole lot of eyelashes and such on a male, but they do have eyelashes, so I'm trying to just get it as close as I can. And I'm just kind of using my dark pencil and regular pencil to sketch in some of these little things just because I want to sort of see what it looks like before I put pen on it. Now the pencil gives me one type of shading, but then I'm going back with a black colored pencil just to give me, because almost the pencil sort of has a gray tint, and I want to darken up some of these shadows where they're just a little bit darker than that gray tint. And then of course go back in and blend it. a little bit more darker around the outside edges of the white of the eye, because in all actuality the eye is never truly totally white. Just darkening up some of these shadows. I don't want to get his face too dark, but at the same time I want the contrast of the movement in his face. I want to reflect what's happening there. And sometimes if you don't have shadows, you can't see the definition maybe of how he's angling his face or whatever. And then come back in here and we'll darken up these fingers just a little bit with my pen. And I'm doing a little bit of a cross hatching effect because I had originally went this way. So I just crossed back over almost like the opposite direction. It darkens it up, but it also gives it a little bit more depth. Now, part of that will probably get covered up just because when I go to put in the black colored pencil, it'll get hidden a little bit. Cross hatching gives you a, I don't know how to explain it, but a more shaded look. Sometimes when you add the pencil, then that just blends really well. Let's create a shadow here under this joint in his finger. I didn't do that before, but it needed one. Of course, this needs to be darker. Bring it back just a hair. And of course, when you're blending with the blending stump, whatever you want to call this, blending stick, I'm just kind of pulling it out as it goes up. We don't want to go from shade to drastic white. We want to pull that color up. So it's, now some areas are going to be what I call a drastic shadow, but most of the time when it's something like this, you're going to have a gradual evolving up the hand, that shadow. So I'm just basically darkening up some areas that I saw could maybe have a little bit more. Since we didn't do the, goodness, since we didn't do the back and that black, if I would have left the back black, I may not have done quite as much shading, but because I want the focus to be more on him and this bee, this needs to kind of be just backdrop, and he needs to come to life here. He needs to be the focus. And I'm just coming back in here and darkening this up just a little bit. And for whatever reason, it must be my tabletop, but I've got some little, I'm seeing some little white lines in there where like the grain of my tabletop. I had a mat or whatever that went on this. You know, I could use a mat board. That would help. That would make it even. But I had a mat on this originally when I bought it, and it was in really bad shape. And so I had to take it off, and the mats that go on these for painting and drawing are about 50 bucks. Which it might not be a lot to some people, but I have things that I can use to compensate, like the mat board, which I may go get a piece here in a second, and put down underneath my picture just because it would give me a smoother edge. Now I'm cross hatching this in 3 different directions just so it blends a little bit better. And then of course I'm going to come back in with my pencil. And then I'll do my colored pencil here, my black colored pencil. And that really takes it to a different level as far as the shadow goes. It just helps blend that in a little bit better. And of course pulling that color back out. A little bit of shadow down in the bottom of his collar here. Underneath this, underneath here. And darkening up some of these shadows. Ding, somebody wants to talk to me or message me. Okay, so now I am going to put a little bit of detail on this monocle, and then I'll go to drawing the bee. And probably the last thing I'll do is just going in and putting some shading on these louvers behind him. I hear my kitty cat in the other room, just a meowing. She knows I'm home, and she is hilarious. She's a really good cat, but y'all, she has got some issues with socks. When we first brought her home, we have fields around our house, okay? And sometimes those fields, when they cut them down, the mice decide to come in. And we have tried everything we can, you know, to keep the mice out. Well, we can't keep mouse traps in the house now because of the cat. So we have to do, you know, decon under the house or something like that. But occasionally we still do have an occasional, what I call a field mouse. Not big ones, just really tiny ones. But I don't like them. I don't like rats of any sort, so, or mice of any sort. But anyway, when we first brought her home, she was maybe with us about a month. And I think they were coming in through our garage, I think is where she found her first one. Well, anyway, she started finding mice. We had about a week or two that she found like 1 or 2 mice. So she decides that she's gonna, you know how mice do. They'll bring you their catch, and they want you to see what they've got. And I'll tell you something that's really funny. One day, she had caught a mouse, and my son was playing on his. He has a computer, and he plays video games all the time, and streams and all that stuff. So he's always got headphones on, and he's not half the time paying attention to what's going on around him. And it was funny because this day she kept, I mean, she was like, meow, 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 meow. And he was like, would you please hush? What is wrong with you? And he was in the middle of a game, so he kind of just, he's not mean to his cat. He loves his cat. That cat is his, and that's his baby. But it was funny because he was like trying to kind of shoo her away because she was bugging him while he was trying to talk and game. And all of a sudden she starts flailing around on the floor. And he's like, what in the world is wrong with you? Well, he looks down, and she had a mouse. And he had like a blanket over his legs, and the blanket was hanging down the floor. Well, she was flailing around on that blanket. And he was like, what in the world? Well, when he realized she had a mouse, she let go of it. I guess she wanted to bring it to him and show him that she had it. And then once she let go of it, it got gone. Well, at first he couldn't find it. And all of a sudden he's looking under his computer desk, and there's the mouse sitting on like the little ledge of the bottom of the computer desk. And of course the cat didn't see it. The cat had lost it when it let go of it. And he saw it on the ledge on his desk. Anyway, make a long story short, I'm not very good at doing that. But anyway, he goes to the mouse, when he notices the mouse underneath his desk or whatever, he goes to try to get it, and the mouse runs underneath his computer tower, I guess you call it. And so he goes to find it, and when he goes to find it, it takes off running down the hall. Well, the cat sees it at that point and decides to go take off running with it. And she makes it to about the hallway, and you hear this awful racket, and my son said she had her paws like this, with the mouse in between her paws, and she was shaking her paws, holding that mouse. It was so funny. But anyway, from that, it's sparked in her, I guess, the I want to catch a mouse kind of thing, and that's her big thing. So now we don't have mice anymore. That was a little season that we had them, and then she caught 1 or 2 of them. And if they're alive, my son will just let them go outside. He won't kill them or anything. But anyway, she has gotten now where oh my gosh, it's so annoying. She will find black socks laying around, and my son's really bad about leaving his clothes and his socks on the floor. He has a clothes hamper in his room. I don't know what it is with men, but he has a clothes hamper in his room, and he tends to throw his stuff in the floor and not put it in the clothes hamper. But anyway, she has gotten to where she will go and grab these socks, and she'll take off running down the hallway, and she'll just meow, 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 until you acknowledge that she has this, what she thinks is a mouse. It is hilarious, y'all. And one day I'm going to video her, and I might put it on Facebook or something, because I just think it's hilarious. But anyway. Alright, let's see. We want to put a little shadow here. I should have done that in pencil first. because this black pencil, this black colored pencil it doesn't blend as well as a pencil does. Put a shadow there, and we'll blend that out a little bit. And I'm not sure, but I may color his best in black. Instead of that background being black, I may color his best in black. I think that might, and leave that little stitch in white. I think that will actually be pretty cool. And it would really make this bottom half pop, I think. And his shirt would stand out a little bit more too. Okay, this bee is really large for a bee, but I intentionally wanted it to be big because of steampunk items. Of course, it's mechanical, so it's not real, and they can make a mechanical bee as big as they want. I don't know what this is. I have a little reference picture here of one that I pulled offline, and then I changed a lot of the elements here, but I'm just using it sort of as a reference for shadows. These little things back here are not recessed, but they're a little bit shorter, so maybe the larger ones are going to cast a shadow on the smaller ones. He looks like he has a mohawk. A bee with a mohawk. Now since we did like the light coming from this source, everything on the left side of this bee is going to be shadowed. Or more shadow, I'll say it that way. And my birds are back to talking. Can't win for losing. Okay. There's his little mohawk. Debating on I might just do this as like a little. No, I didn't pin this in, so I'm kind of freestyling it in with my pen. I think I'll make that like a little cog or wheel or some sort. And I think I'll do it dark. Because the eye should be dark, I think, for it to pop and show up. Let's see, what can we put down here? Let's put some little, I like my metal panels. Let's put some little metal panels down along the bottom of his face. We'll even go to the tip of his nose. And we can put some little rivets up in the corner there. Maybe there as well. I mean, I'll come back in and do some shading, a little bit of shading here, a little bit right here where it connects in. I'm sorry if I'm blocking the picture here. Just kind of going under his little chin. So you're still going to see the panels a little bit, but not a whole lot. Just because I'm putting that shadow there. Okay, now for the let's see, I gotta think here. This leg is in the background, foreground, background, and that's on the front. So all the legs that's on the background, this little cog or wheel is going to go in between it. So let's just cover that in black. We'll just make it solid black. I'm doing this as I go along. I mean, I'm just kind of tweaking or seeing things that I could, you know, like that leg is in the background, so I would like this wheel to be like in the middle maybe of his body, and it's going to peek out over here under this little leg here. But that leg's on the front side and those legs are on the back, and that leg will be on the back. So we'll do this. That one will be dark as well over the top of that leg. And you're getting like a totally underneath belly shadow there. And then we can just kind of pull it in here. Almost like that shadow goes right up under his neckline. And then this leg's going to come off of it. Now there's like a, I don't know what you would call this. It's almost like you're seeing this as two cogs, or two gears rather. And there's like this little attachment. I want to do like this little attachment, almost like you have two wheels or two gears like this, and there's a little attachment here that holds the two wheels together right here. So it might not make sense to some people, but it made sense in my head. So we can do this like it's a metal plate that's like on the front of his chest. And let's even put a little, almost like you're seeing this little diamond pattern in there. And then on the bottom of this little gear, which I didn't do the best on my gear as far as it being accurate. I'm just darkening that up a little bit. And I may end up doing that black, I'm not sure. I don't want this B to be, and I'm putting just an extra little circle there. I don't want this B to be too busy, but he's got to be to a certain extent a little. And I'm putting a little shadow back here under his leg, because on the back side it's going to be darker maybe. And of course, since the light source is coming here, or this way rather, anything on the back side of this little B is going to be darker than the front side, of course. I posted, I got a message from someone yesterday actually. I had posted some old steampunk drawings that I did, and another commission piece I did for somebody in steampunk. And I had a friend on Facebook said, do you mind if I share that with Dragon Con? And they're trying to get me to come to the Dragon Con the I don't know what you call it, well, Dragon Con. They have it once a year in, I think it's Atlanta or somewhere down in Georgia. And they're trying to get me to either go to the event or set up a booth at the event with some of my steampunk drawings. But they asked me the other day if they could post my artwork on Dragon Con, and I thought that was kind of neat. It's like, sure, whatever. It's just more exposure. Plus, if someone else is maybe likes the steampunk or is inspired by it, maybe they'll like the drawings. But they weren't my better pieces, I don't think. And I told this person that I was like, I don't mind you doing it, but it's probably not my better pieces. And actually, these, I think the few that I'm doing now are probably my better pieces. They're not. I've seen some really good steampunk drawings, and I know these are not compatible with maybe some of them that's out there. Some of them are just, wow. I mean, they're just fantastic. The imagination that people have with these drawings that I've seen, and just the talent that's out there is just crazy good. So I know I'm probably not maybe up there with the rest of them, but these are probably, I will say, out of the ones that I've done in the past, these are probably some of my better ones. And I'm just putting a little bit of shadow underneath these little rounded legs. And I'm going to cross hatch back over in the, now I cross hatch this way along with the body of that leg, but I'm also cross hatching back and forth. If you have a, I'll use this as an example, if you have a cylinder, you can cross hatch up and down, and that gives you the height, but then when you go and cross hatch in the direction of that cylinder, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. Let me pull this in just a little bit. If you cross hatch up, it gives you the length, and if you cross hatch around, that gives you that 3D effect. And this is going to look like a can when I get done with it, but taking your lines around to mimic this circle on this side causes that to look more 3D. So that's basically what I'm doing here. I went up with it. Let me pull this back. I went up with it, and then now arm was casting a shadow, and now I'm going around the leg to make it look more rounded, and I'll do the same thing on this one. And again, this one's going to be darker because it's on the back side. Put a deeper shadow there. And we'll do kind of like the underneath of that. And a deeper shadow there. And a cast shadow coming off the top of that. That's a little bit darker. And then this bottom joint of this leg, I'll go up and down with it. And then I'm going to go around with it. And the same thing with the top leg. See how these legs are just a little bit darker. Again, going down. I'll trace this and go down. Trace this and go down. Just to give that a little side. And then I'm just going to come in, darken these lines up just a little bit. Put a little bit of a cast shadow underneath there. So it looks like a joint. I mean, not a joint, but yeah, like it's an open sort of. We'll darken this up. And this. Now, let's see. And then the bottom of this leg has this like, almost like this tubular pipe looking leg. I was counting my legs because for some reason I was trying to figure out what legs were what, because this one and this one match. This one and this one are supposed to match, and then I guess this one would be, this one was supposed to be in front of that, and I didn't draw it in front of it. There again, I'm human and I do make, sometimes I don't maybe not research, but look at my design. I tried to look at it really close and put that in, but I was not thinking that these legs were matching that way. So that could have been done differently. Most people aren't going to notice that, honestly. I notice it because I'm the artist, and I'm very, very critical of my work. And now that I've mentioned it, you'll probably notice it as well. And I'm sure I'll get comments on it. So I am totally aware of what I did, just so you'll know. Okay. Now on this bee, his body is sort of segmented just like the legs are. Except for this piece is like one piece. But I think I might do something kind of unique here. I think on this bottom shaft here, because it's the most visible, I thought about doing it here, but I think I might do it on this one, since this is most visible, is drawing these little, almost like, where did I do this at? I did this on, oh yeah, like the bird here. Oops, I just dropped something. This little, I don't know if you can see it, this little grate looking, I think I might do that here on this inner part of his body, make it look like a grate, almost like it's open holes there. That one's going to get a little bit lost. So put like the bottom of one peeking out there. And they looked wider here, but as they go under his belly, they tend to get a little bit shorter, just because his body's like folded under a little bit there, the way he's standing. And I apologize if you hear my washing machine. I've got my studio door closed, but sometimes it can be excuse me. Excuse me. I'm a loud sneezer. I apologize. And then this one underneath here, I think we're going to put more shadow there because it is tucked underneath. It's kind of sandwiched in between these two segments. And then we've got these little, they almost look like a necktie coming off of him. I wanted it to look almost like a almost like it's part of the wing, but at the same time it's almost like a little rocket booster. So I'm trying to think how to do this. I don't want it to look like a pencil if I do the ribs on it. Let me think about that for a little bit. I don't want to draw in something that might really look odd. And I think I like the idea of maybe making this like a little panel with rivets. You know me and my panels. Like it's underbelly little flap of some sort, mechanical operation flap there, where you can get into the mechanics of the bottom half of this bee. And of course, again, the shadows are going to come on this side. They're on the bottom. On this side, they're up on the top, just because this is overhanging this underneath belly part, or now we're into almost the tail part. And I see something I think I'm going to try to do here. And I did it up here. See how his leg has this curved around it? I'm going to pull this in where you see a curve. Now it looks like a capsule of some sort. It's pretty cool. And then we'll do the same thing on this one. Little capsule there. It just makes it look more 3D. And I gave him a little, oh no, that's part of this one. Let's see, we can do this. For right now. And then this is going to have a shadow under here and come down. And there's going to be a shadow here and come down. And even though there's a panel there, you're still going to have a shadow. And of course I'm going to crisscross it just a little bit to mimic that shape of that body, the roundness of it. Cast a little shadow under those rivets. Not going to see them much on the bottom side, but you'll see them on the top. Cast just a little bit of a shadow here, just so that stands out, and we'll get this other leg in. Of course, this is going to be really dark back here, and we've got the tubes going on again. almost looks like the little round tubular looking legs that are on maybe a coffee table or something. You know how it has these little, usually it's more like an hourglass and then one of these little lumps. And then I'm going to kind of just cast sort of a, I'm going to round that off just a little bit right there. Now going into his tail, what can we do here? We're going to do this. First of all, he looks like he has a little gnome's hat on his bottom. His little stinger. Oh, my sinuses are bugging me today for some reason. My son's been sick with a bad sinus infection. I hope he has not made me sick. I will get him if he did. Now, I know that a safety pin is completely open and that there's nothing in between, but I'm kind of thinking that I might just sort of shade this in right through here to make it look like it's sort of like I'm going to do like I did up here. Oh, I may just use my colored pencil and do the little bit of gray and white in the background just so it looks opaque, like it's a film maybe in between his little safety pin wings, because honestly if it was completely open I don't think he would be able to fly. But if it's got some type of film or something there that would make it like a butterfly's wing or an actual bee's wing, then it would give him some kind of, I just noticed I have paint under my nails. Probably look like I don't clean my nails, but that's not true. As a painter, you tend to get stuff all over you. This is the underneath of this other safety pin that I'm drawing now. We're seeing it kind of overlap. Now to draw the one on top. And I didn't put that in here, but that's got to go in here. It just continues the wing. And although these will be opaque, I guess opaque's the right word, see-through, transparent, you will still see through what's going on. And I noticed that here's another part of the wing that didn't get drawn in. Right there. Okay, and then we've got the little cogwheel, I guess it's called, behind the gear. Let's darken it up a little bit, and I'll put some cast some shadows in there here in a second. Goodness, we're already at an hour. I apologize. I would not have thought this part would have took so long. I've said that with every video though. I get to talking and I get to drawing and the time just flies by. I thought about doing that dark, but then when I did this under here, that's gonna make that oval or that circle look oval when I do that, so I may just have to put some type of, just use my colored pencils or my pencil to shadow it. And there again, I'm just putting this little cross hatchet and going the right direction. And then I think I'm going to just sort of darken up this part of his body under here and create a little shadow here and a little shadow here. I know that's maybe not accurate because you wouldn't have a shadow on both sides, but I just want that to show up a little bit. He's getting a shadow off of this and off of this because of it being recessed. Just trying to straighten up his circle a little bit. My husband gets so aggravated with me because if he goes to help me hang a picture or something, I can tell when it's not level. And I can tell you that it's not totally a complete circle. Well, it's a circle, but it's not totally perfect. And this is a little wind-up bee. And I'm just going to make him have a, it's going to be an open weave type. And then since we did an open weave, I got to connect that line there. Again, an open weave. I won't have to connect a line on this side. And that handle. And let's put some little rivets down through here. Some little buttons. And we could put some little buttons here, like it's on the corner, like it's going around. And the same thing here. Get smaller as they go around. Cast a shadow off these little plates. Maybe do my little nose hole. And then I'm going to go back and cross hatch in here just to deepen up this shadow. And I'll come back with my pencil and colored pencil. To give that a little bit more. Just cast a shadow that way. Alright. So now I'm just going to take my pencil and go in and create more shadow. That looks a little bit more blended, a little bit more smooth, a little bit more uniform. And I'm not going really dark with those, but I want it to look like you're seeing through the body. So there's going to be a little bit darker shadow there. give him a little shadow under him, maybe a little bit over his eye and around his nose there. And deepen up his dark shadow in here. It's almost like it's open, but yet at the same time, there's maybe something behind it, which is his body. So it won't be open like you're seeing through his wings over here. And then I'm just going to kind of take my pencil and put a little bit of color with the pencil on this cogwheel, whatever you want to call this. And I think I'm going to color this in right here. Now on the wing, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to really make it opaque, like you're still seeing through the wing, but there's a film or something there that's consistent with a wing. And this one overlaps that back because, like I said, you're seeing through it. So anything behind something that's transparent like that, you're going to see it, but it's going to be shaded too because it's closed in. Now I'll have to think about it since the light source is coming this direction. That means his little leg shadow is going to be out here. He's casting a shadow a little bit further away. Same thing with this one, but this one's going to come closer to the foot right here at the beginning, and then it'll get further away as it goes up the shoulder. I hope that makes sense. Just because of the shadows coming here, then what's behind that foot is going to show up. Same thing with this wall back here. I'm going to cast a shadow. It looks like he's got multiple arms and legs now, but I want to make sure that he has those shadows going against the wall back there. Okay. So now all I have to do really, I'll come back with my black colored pencil. But for right now, I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to start putting this shadow on my louvers. Now on the louvers, I did not add the black colored pencil. I did that to the rest of the sketch, but I did not add it to the louvers because the louvers are more of a subtle shading, and that's bringing in more of a gray tone or almost a brownish gray tone versus the dark black, the darker shadow. This is just a, now I will probably next to it come in just a little bit darker, just to accentuate that edge. And then when I bring my blending stick in, I can pull it out a little bit more. I don't want to smear too much. What I've already done. I should have started from this side and worked my way that way, but I didn't. I did it backwards. Not really backwards, but it's in a way that would cause me to go over the pencil, which would make it maybe smear a little bit more. I hope that by watching the drawing that I don't consider myself an art teacher by no means. I have taught in the past in my home, but I maybe don't feel quite as comfortable with the teaching part. But I hope that something I've shared with you, maybe with the shadows, the ideas, the creativity, the techniques that I've used with maybe the cross-hatching, pen and ink, whatever, that you glean something from what I've done. I'm not just drawing this stuff so that you can just watch me draw. I really, really want to be able to help people learn techniques and stuff. And like I said, I'm not that great of maybe an art teacher, but I'm just sharing with you what I know. I probably could go back to school and learn a lot more about art, and I may actually do that. I've been considering going back and taking some more art classes just because it's been 20 plus years since I've been in art school. But you know, even though I was out of what I say art commission, I wasn't doing any art for about 20 years to raise my kids. Even though I was doing that, I was still I still remember some of the techniques that even I used in the past. And the more you draw, the more those techniques and things come back to you. And I guess maybe I just don't feel confident because I haven't done it but for the last 5-6 years. And some people, oh my gosh, they probably have drawn less time and pick up on things so quickly. But I just feel maybe not as confident because I have been away from it for so long. and would love to maybe feel more confident in what I'm sharing with you. I'm sharing with you my art and hope that you obtain some sense of who I am, some sense of my style, what I like, and even maybe a few techniques in the process. And with all the jibber jabbering I've done, that's a southern word, with all the rambling or talking about much of nothing, you hopefully will get an insight to a little bit about me and who I am as an artist. I've told you guys even maybe some personal things about me, funny things, funny stories, funny things that happen. I've told you about my cat. I've talked to you about my family a little bit. I've talked to you about me and some of the things that I've dealt with the last couple of years. So, you know what? It's funny because, and I've watched other artists say the same thing. A lot of people maybe don't purchase art because they don't know the backstory or they don't know anything about that artist. And a lot of people connect on a deeper level because they know the artist and they know what that artist is about. They feel a personal connection to the artist in general versus just the work. And so the work becomes more meaningful to the people who understand and know the artist a little better. And that's what I hope that you glean or gain from this, is a little more insight into me as an artist, and maybe you will understand or get where my head is sometimes in the art world, or why I do some of the things I do. Like, I wished I would have videoed a couple years back, and this was not probably in the back of my mind to do, but I did a painting in acrylic resin, and that art piece is very, very personal. Now, it's for sale, but it's very personal to me because, um, as I spoke before, I'm a Christian artist, and sometimes the Lord, and I know some people may not believe this, but the Lord does speak to you when you listen. And He doesn't maybe necessarily speak to you in an audible voice. Now, some people have heard that. I've never had Him audibly in a voice like if you were talking to me, hear that. But I do feel deep down inside of me that voice that of encouragement or spurring me to do something different, or, you know, I think God speaks to me even through creativity. And that one day that I did this acrylic resin painting, I literally woke up 3 times in the middle of the night. And I'm a light sleeper, but that's not something that's my norm. I might have restless nights where I don't sleep good, but that's not my norm to wake up every hour on the hour like clockwork that particular night. And this mimics his shirt. But anyway, that particular night when I woke up at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock, I kept seeing this picture in my head of this abstract painting. And it wasn't anything definite, like maybe really clear, but I knew it was a type of abstract painting that I was seeing in my I don't know if you call it a vision. What do you call that? When your mind goes to places maybe that's not something you've ever seen or done. And for me, it was almost like a vision. I was seeing something that I'd never seen before, and it kind of threw me. I won't say it threw me off my game, but it almost shocked me even that I was experiencing that. I've just knocked all my pins off. But anyway, so that next day I thought I was going to draw and I didn't, and instead I waited the day after. There was something going on that day and I couldn't draw that day, or paint or whatever, and it was the following day. So 2 days after I had this, 2 days, not nights, but 2 days after I had this incident of waking up 3 times in the middle of the night, I come in my studio and I don't know why. Sometimes I'll just turn on I've got like a little old school record player slash CD, DVD, not DVD, CD, tape player. It plays all of those and the radio's on there. But I think I might have had my radio on that day. And I'm just in here with my wooden canvas. I use wooden canvases a lot. I was just in here, I was pouring paint on this canvas and I was just allowing it to do whatever it was going to do. And I'm going to keep talking to you, but I got to step away from the desk just to get my pen I dropped. But anyway, I was just allowing what was going to happen. And when I did that, the work, it was so fulfilling, for one thing, to be able to just let go and not be inhibited, not feel restrained or so structured with my work. I've always been a very, what I call a structured artist. I've always done things that look like what I'm drawing, or I've never been really abstract with my concepts. I take it back. I can't say that because I did do abstract quite a few years ago, but it was a different type of abstract. It was still had a lot of realism to it. Maybe was abstract concepts, but realistic in you knew what I was drawing, in other words. Well, this particular picture, I didn't know what I was drawing. I was just allowing my hands to just free flow with the paint and just to have fun. I was just having fun that day. Now, the funny thing is, it's because I waited a day and I didn't paint the day after I had that little incident of waking up at night. I kind of let that slip my mind and I forgot about that. I didn't forget about the incident, but I didn't put it into, I wasn't trying to put it into my painting, I'll put it that way. Because originally when I kept waking up with that vision, or whatever you want to call it, I kept seeing this painting in dark green, and in my mind this song, it talks about how Jesus loves us, and it's called "Oh How He Loves Us." I love that song, and in my mind there's a part in the song that talks about He bends us like the tree, and I was thinking in my head that I was going to paint a tree with some type of green in the picture, and that didn't happen. When I got to playing with my paint, that totally did not even cross my mind at that point. It was completely out of my mind as far as adding that into the painting like I thought I was going to do. Now, the funny thing is I did end up using green, and I don't use green a lot. I'm not a big green person. Now, after painting this picture, I love green. That's funny, but I've never been that big of a green kind of person. As far as somebody asked me my favorite color, it wouldn't be green. But now I absolutely love green, and I love orange, and both of those colors are in this painting. And but when I got to a certain point, sometimes as an artist, we sometimes don't feel like maybe we're finished, and I used to be bad about this, we'll overcompensate or try to make something even bigger happen, even though there's already a nice piece there. We'll keep trying to add to or fix it or do something to it. And it's like all of a sudden, in my spirit, I guess you call it, in your spirit, you're deep down, this little inner voice said, okay, you're done. And when I looked at my painting, the Lord spoke to me, Jeremiah 1:5, and it talks about, and this is in the Bible, it talks about how God knew us before we were ever born, before we were in our mother's womb. And if you look at the painting, you can go on my Facebook page and see the painting. It's called Jeremiah 1:5. I actually based it on that scripture. If you look at that painting, you will see the outline of a baby in a womb. And I did not plan that at all. It was totally something that I think the Lord wanted to just share with me, that because I was going through some hard times. Um, I was going through some depression. I was going through some battles, and I really feel like art can be a healing process, and the Lord knew I needed that healing process. Excuse me. He knew that I needed that healing process, and since I've painted that picture, of course, anybody uh, that sees that painting, I have to tell the story behind it, because without it, it's just abstract art that nobody knows what it is. But I feel the need to tell people that story behind that painting, because it is so impactful that people realize that the painting is a healing process. It's not just um, to look pretty. There was a purpose in that, and it happens to be one of my favorite paintings that I actually have hanging in my studio. Um, like I said, it is for sale, but if someone comes along and wants to buy it, I'm not gonna lie, it would be hard because it's so personal. But at the same time, I want it to bless somebody. Somebody else out there may need that same message from the Lord. And right now that painting is actually is displayed in the Health and Wellness Center in Lincolnton. It's a counseling center. And when I told the story to the lady who is a counselor at that center that's got my work in display, she said, I want that piece. And there was a couple others that she resonated with because of maybe the content of the pieces. They look like they would be uh, maybe conversational starters, or would open up someone to talk about things that they went through or whatever. But that happened to be one of the pieces that she liked. And then I have another picture that I did when I was battling a lot of pain in my face, and right before they diagnosed me, of Jesus, that I did. And it kind of has the same impact with people. People really just resonate with it, and they're like, I'm no great artist, okay? I know this. I know I'm not a great artist, but you don't have to be necessarily a great artist to be anointed and to have a calling and to be used by God to bless and to minister to others. And for me, my business, my artwork, isn't just me drawing. It's a ministry. It's an opportunity to bless others. And you know what? When I go to art venues, shows, or um, even with my antique business that I once had, when I go and I'm around other people, I just share sometimes my life story. Sometimes I'll just share um, God's love to people. It's hard for me not to do that, because that's who I am. God is my everything. Um, for those who maybe don't believe in the Lord and maybe don't have a relationship with Christ, you're totally missing out, because people will say, well, I don't want to give up this, and I don't want to do that, and I want to live my life, I want to have fun, I want to do this or that or the other. But what they don't realize is there's freedom in that relationship with Him, and knowing that it doesn't matter what problems you have or face or go through, that there's always going to be a Father who loves you despite who you are. And that's what is so precious to me personally, because no matter how much I may mess up, no matter how much I may do things wrong, I may treat someone disrespectfully or do something I shouldn't do, and I'm not saying I do that. I normally really try to respect people and treat them good. Now, the people you live with are a little different. Sometimes you tend to think you can get away with maybe not mistreating them, but you take them for granted. I don't try to do that, but sometimes I catch myself having to go to God and say, Lord, forgive me for the way I maybe handled it or treated them. You know, they deserve better. But when we make stupid mistakes like that, and I do call it stupid mistakes because they hurt other people, and when we make those kind of mistakes, the Lord is there just to say, you know what, it's okay, I forgive you. And of course we have to ask Him for that forgiveness, but He reassures us that He knows we're not perfect, and He loves us still, despite that we're not perfect. And it's okay with Him that we're not perfect. When He made us and created us, He knew we weren't going to be perfect. He knew we would struggle and we would have issues in our life, and you know. Wow. Okay, so I've spent almost an hour and 38 minutes. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to put a couple little lines across these wings just to reiterate, and I'm going to put a couple lines across this to reiterate that it's a monocle that you're seeing through, and I'm going to actually come in and darken this up just a hair because you're seeing through that. And the only thing I'm going to probably do to this piece that you won't see me do, because I'm going to cut this off, I've got to go pick up my son here in a second, is I may come in and either shade his vest in or draw it in black. Not real sure. I'm just kind of piddling with it right now, but I know I got off on a sidetrack talking about God and everything, and some people may say, well, you should apologize for that, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to apologize. I'm not ashamed of who I serve, and I'm not ashamed of loving Christ. He is everything to me, and He's the one who gives me the talent to do what I love to do, and that's to draw and to bless people and to make people happy. And I hope that something I've said or done, I'll pull this back so you can see this a little bit better. I hope that something I've said or done that it resonated with you. There we go. It resonated with you, and that you took maybe some ideas away from the sketch or whatever I said. I just hope it blesses you, and that it ministers to you in the way that God would want it to. And so I'm gonna jump off here. I've kept you way too long. I will try not to do that again next time, but I just got so caught up in finishing this piece, and I really wanted to make it right. And so I will see you later. And oh yeah, the one thing that I have not done on this that I'm going to do on all 4 of the pictures is I'm going to do a pop of color, and I think I've decided to do his steampunk glasses or his monocle in the color. So when you come back, his vest may be black and his monocle or steampunk glasses will be colored. And the same thing with the other ones. But thank you for watching. Come back again and watch me on the next one. Hopefully it won't be so long. Talk to you later, and God bless.